Alright, today we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to draw some construction lines, and then we'll put a few horizontal lines to start to identify what I call the ABC of lines. That's our object line and our hidden lines, construction lines, and so forth. And then we'll label those, but we're going to use the layers property manager there to kind of identify and make these different line types, and see how the layers property manager is actually used a little bit too. So starting out, we are going to go and place a cross construction line. Now, as you remember, that's in the home tab in the construction panel, and here we'll click that arrow next to construction lines. Get the drop down bar. We're going to come over here to the cross construction lines. You get that blue cursor there, those are your construction lines. They're going to turn red here as soon as we do this and make this click, but notice it says specify insertion point. So we're going to go 0, tab 0, and hit enter. That put that construction line at our origin. I could go ahead and I could place other ones right now, but I don't want to, so I'm just going to right click to escape out of that. Now I can come down here and I press the roller bar on my mouse and I can pan over. I can without depressing the scroll bar, we can just kind of zoom in and zoom out. So a lot of different ways that we can actually use our mouse here as we go. Now I want to create a horizontal line, so I'm going to go again to my draw panel and I'm going to do a straight line. This is going to be a horizontal line, and again with my crosshair there, it wants me to specify the first point. So I'm going to specify the first point, which is going to be at 1, 1. That's x1, y1 on our Cartesian coordinate system here. So 1, tab 1, and enter. That gives me the first point there. Now my next step here is to actually, where it says specify the next point, so I could enter this in, but you'll notice that right now there is a numeric value in the first place, which would be the x. If I just hit 8, that's going to give me a line that is the length of 8 units on whatever the unit is that we have. So in this case it's going to be 8 inches. And I'm going to tab over to where it's showing the degree. That's going to give me a polar line. I actually want this to be horizontal, so I'm going to say 0 degrees and enter. Now I've got the horizontal line that is 8 inches long. I'm going to right click to escape out of that. So now I'm going to create, again, I want each of these lines to represent a different line type in our ABC of lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the offset tool, and I'm going to offset a series of lines above this. So we're going to do 6 total to represent each of the different line types that I want you to see here. So if you search around up here in your ribbon, remember in the home tab right here, and we're going to go into the modify panel, which is right here. The offset tool is this tool here. So just click on that. Now you have to be careful as you do this. Again, a lot of this in AutoCAD is just sequence driven, and you got to kind of know the right steps to follow in order to get it to do what you want it to do. So this says asking us first to specify the offset distance, and I want that to be 1 inch. So I'm going to hit 1 and enter. Now it says select object to offset, which is this line. So I'm going to cursor down on the line and I'm going to left click on that line. Notice now I can go either above and place a line above it or below it. Well, I don't want to place below. That's going to put it right there on the x-axis. So I'll go ahead and go above, and I left click and that places the line. I can click on this one now, the one that I just placed, and do the same thing, another inch above. I still have that 1 inch measurement there, so I can keep placing these right above it. So, and I can get those 6 lines on there. If I wanted to offset a line, say 2.5 inches or 3 inches above that, I'd have to escape out and go back to the offset tool again to restart in order to place that change in distance. And we do that when we do our 9 lines. But for right now, this gives me my 6 different lines. And each of these is going to represent something, is going to represent one of our alphabet of lines or the ABC lines. So, and we're going to change these to that particular line style, whether it'll be a series of dashes for the hidden lines, or a long dash, short dash, long dash for a center line, and so forth. And we're also going to change the colors. In order to do that, we use the Layers menu and the Layers Property Manager. So again, I'm in my Home tab in the Layers panel. Right here, if you click this, notice this is a layer, and right now we have 2 layers. We have both the construction line layer, and we have our we're going to be using as our object line. And it's the object line that is currently the one that we're drawing in, because that's the one that's highlighted. Now, before we placed these construction lines, there was only 1 layer. AutoCAD automatically created the construction line layer as soon as we placed that cross construction line. So keep that in mind. But now we're going to actually create a couple more layers. So go there in that Layers panel, what's called the Mechanical Layer Manager. Click on that. You'll get the Mechanical Layer Manager pop-up window. So where you see these, now notice here's the name for the layer, the color of the lines, and the different line type. So we want to create 4 more layers. So I'm just going to go right here into the upper left-hand corner of the Mechanical Layer Manager pop-up window, and I'm going to click the new layer 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I've got 4 different layers. The first layer here, I'm going to come over to where it says line type, and I'm going to click that line type. Notice we get the arrow down here, and we're going to make this first line type a hidden line. So I change that to hidden. The color we're going to go ahead and change to, I'm going to change that here in my palette to green. Hit OK. Our layer 1, I'm actually going to change this to say hidden line. So you can do this a couple different ways. You can double click till it comes up and highlights it like that, and then you can type it in. So hidden line. Oh, then you can just kind of click out of that. So, or if you need to, the other way is to put your cursor arrow over the name and right click, and then it'll say rename layer, and you can come in here and get it that way as well. So just click back out of the box to set it. So that's our hidden line. Next, click the line type for layer 2, that arrow button. We're going to make this a center line. And the color for our center lines, we're going to keep that. We're going to make those red as well. And for layer 2, I'm going to rename layer 2 to center line. So change that to center line. Click out of it to activate it. Layer 3, we're going to change this line type here to what we call the Phantom 2. So now that's going to create a phantom line. Phantom lines are used to indicate movement or motion, so we'll make that one blue. So come over here to the name of layer 3 and change that to phantom line. So, and lastly here for this, layer 4, just so you can kind of see, we're going to go with this AM zigzag. So we're going to make that one yellow. So click OK. And this particular line is a break line. So we're going to rename that to break line. So, and just go ahead, once you have all of those in there, click OK. So now you will notice on mine, as soon as I clicked OK, up here in the layers manager right now, the hidden line layer is the active layer. That means if I go and do any drawing whatsoever in this right now, it's going to basically be drawing in that layer. So, so to change that, we'll just go ahead and click that arrow and go right back here and make that the 0 layer, or what's going to be all of our object lines. Now, I can change each of these different line types. So here, if I come down, and I'm going to leave the first line here, the one that we started at 1, 1 or x1, y1, I'm going to leave that one as an object line. And I'm going to go to the next one up, and I'm going to highlight and click that. So hang on, I'm still kind of in here, so we'll just hit escape to back out. And then you can click. And when you get that, you should get your object snaps there. I've got object snaps set right now where it shows the end point here and the midpoint. I can stretch those, I can move them, I can kind of move it around here with those. I don't want to do any of that. I want to keep it just like it is, but I am going to change that line to show it as an actual hidden line and the color that we selected. So to do that, all I have to do is come back up here to my layers manager, click that arrow, and just go down, and we'll click and make that a hidden line. Now hit escape, and you'll notice now it's a green hidden line showing the series of short dashes. So let's go to the next line up now. So this one, we are going to make a center line. So notice as soon as I hover, I can kind of, if I just move over before I make any changes, it'll see and kind of preview exactly what we want there. So we'll make that one our center line. I'm going to hit escape to get out. We'll click the next one up. We're going to assign this one. So I've got my hidden line, I got a center line, I've got the next one here that we're going to do is our phantom line. Notice that phantom line, hit escape. That phantom line is a long dash followed by 2 short dashes followed by a long dash. So, and lastly here, we're going to do this line, and that one of course is going to be our what we call our break line. So, and we'll apply that. Now, right now, your break line, you can't really, it doesn't really show the break or the zigzag. So if you click on that line, grab the endpoint, we're going to stretch this out. So notice as soon as I do this, and it says specify the stretch distance. So we're going to make that another 8 tab and make it 0 so it stays there. And now notice how you do have, and you can see it is showing an actual zigzag line there. So let's grab this. We don't want it touching our other line, so let's just kind of grab this, and I can move it up and get it out of the way. So that's there now instead of where it was, and that's all right for this particular activity. So now we just want to basically go and identify these, and I'm going to have you label each of these with some text. In order to do that, we want to use, go into the Annotate tab, which is right up here, and you'll see that there's a text panel for multi-line text. So I'm just going to click on the multi-line text tool, and it wants the first corner, so I can come right down here and notice my object snaps are picking up on that endpoint. So I'm just going to click there, and I'm going to move over to specify the opposite corner, and again I'll just left click right there, and the text box comes up. So type in object line. That's my object line, and In this case, you don't want to hit enter. If I hit enter, notice it's just going to go and give me an extra line, so I can do multiple lines here. So backspace back out of that, and here you want to actually left click, or I'm sorry, you want to actually right click, and you can cancel out of that. So yep. So it didn't take it. Happens sometimes. So let's go back. Let's do it over again. Multi-line. Click on that. Bring it over. So type in object line. So, and then click, and you have the object line there as your text. We're going to do the same thing here now on the hidden line. So, and here we're going to specify hidden line. So we're just kind of applying a label on all these. Again, we're going to, once you got it typed, you're going to left click. So go outside of the line and left click. Go back to multi-line, pick up, use that tool. Here's our center line. So we're going to draw this, label that center line, and left click. So multi-line tool. Anybody remember what this line was called again? This blue line that's a long dash, short dash, short dash, long dash. You should recognize that as the phantom line. And again, what does the phantom line show on a drawing? That shows movement or motion. So it's a way that we can indicate where a part might go to. If it's like a, say, a control arm or something that needs to pivot about a point, you can use that. And lastly, I'm going to zoom out here, kind of pan down and around, and I'm going to place this one. We're going to go ahead, we're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to go ahead and label that break line. So, and left click. So, and there we have it. So zoom in so you can see it. We could go and change this text and make some different changes to that so that you understand. We'll get to that in a different video of where you want to go to kind of make some changes to the default settings on some of these. But for right now, this is exactly what you want. Don't forget, I'm going to put too, just so you remember, these red lines, the cross line, those are one of our line types as well. On paper, if we were drawing it, they'd be very faint. You could hardly see them. And if you recall, those are actually our construction lines. So we're going to go ahead and type in construction line there and kind of put that underneath the line on the x-axis to indicate that. Notice where it picked up at. So we'll just kind of move that down, or we could even maybe put that right here just to kind of get that in and indicate that that's a construction line. So so there we have that. So we've got those. So now I want you to go and we'll hit the application button. We're going to go save as. We're going to follow our drawing formula. This is, I want you to save this as ABC of lines hyphen, remember it's your first initial and your full last name there. Save that. You have to navigate through where you want to save it. In this case, I'm just going to save it onto my desktop for now, and then I'll move that over. So notice the file type is an AutoCAD Mechanical 2018 drawing. That has a .dwg extension on it. So anytime you see that .dwg extension, that lets you know that's a type of an AutoCAD file. So go ahead and click Save. So I will minimize this for right now. So, and you'll see that that is here. Let me find it. I got a lot of things up here, so sometimes when you do it to your desktop, it just kind of saves it in wherever space is open. So it's right here. So I'm going to move this over here so I know where that's at. There's my file. Notice it's a .dwg. If I put my cursor on it, there you can see it pops up as an AutoCAD drawing. It shows me when it was drawn, the date and the time, so that you know about that. So again, that's how we kind of go through, and we just created this as a exercise on the different line types, because remember, you got to recall what all of these line types are and what they look like in a print. So, and then of course the main thing here was to use the properties layer and get into and see how all of these properties layers work. And notice I got this light bulb over on all of these. So right now, if I click that light bulb, that turns it off, so I don't see it. It didn't go anywhere, I just can't see it. It's not displayed on the screen. So if you want to come back and have it back on the screen, you just click it and it puts it back on there. But this is a way that we can use to kind of turn things on and off when we want to see or don't want to see. Remember, whichever one shows up in the box here is the layer that you have that you're drawing in at the moment. So you want to make sure that you have the right layer up there and that you're drawing in that particular layer. So okay, if you have any questions, shoot me an email, give me a call, or come see me in homeroom so we can take care of it and make sure that you are good to go on everything you need to know here while we're drawing in AutoCAD.